this a must-win game?
A must-win? Yeah, I think every time we go out is a must-win game. I mean, it's kind of the attitude that I've always taken in the National Football League.
Now it's Super Bowl week. You can tell it's really here. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. welcoming you guys in. Awesome day here. You can see our guests from yesterday that were incredible here. We've got some other great ones coming up today. Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle going to stop by from the Carolina Panthers in just a little bit. Akbar Gbaja-Biamila, who you've seen an American Ninja Warrior, going to be here. Brent Musburger. It's going to be a great day, so don't mind the column in the middle. But, Dad, plenty to get to on a great day today. We've got NBA news, as often happens at the beginning of Super Bowl week with the trade deadline coming up here in just a couple of days. And, of course, media night last night. Mike Vrabel, you can tell he's locked in because he gave that an actual, serious, legitimate answer.
Is this a must? I would have rather seen someone in a wedding dress, I think, than hear that question. I mean, what? It is wild because there's so much media there, and we talked about yesterday that there's people that don't cover sports, people that do cover sports, people that don't know a lot about sports, but it's a big event, so they're there. So you really test the patience of the players and the coaches with some of, and everybody tries to get that question in that will get that answer that'll go viral.
Well, yeah, I mean, that one clearly done tongue-in-cheek, and Vrabel just not going to give it the deference or anything like that. Just going to go ahead and give it the answer, do the football guy thing, and keep it moving. So Mike Vrabel with a lot on the line, as we know. I saw the rehashed clip of him on with Taylor Lewan and Will Compton from Bustin' the Boys, who will join us later in the week on this show, revisiting the viral clip where he said he would cut off his own member if it meant winning a Super Bowl as a coach. So we're on the doorstep of it. And we'll see if Braves is going to follow through on that front here. But speaking of Patriots, we start the show. We know coming up on Thursday this week, NFL Honors, the annual event where we get all the award winners of the various awards for Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, the MVP, things like that, is also when we're going to get the 2026 Hall of Fame class announced officially. And we now know, as we heard last week, there'll be no Bill Belichick in that Hall of Fame class. And this week, as of today, we have heard no Robert Kraft either. So the Brady, Belichick, Kraft era Patriots going over on the Hall of Fame ballot this year. We know in this case, Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick actually in the same pool of contributors. That includes, obviously, coaches, people in Robert Kraft's position in ownership, along with the older players that were eligible in this group. And so, Dad, I think we got all of the consternation out of the way with Bill Belichick last week on this front. I said it would be wild if Robert Kraft did get in at the expense of Bill Belichick, since technically they could eat votes from one another. But we see this as just, again, the clear indication that we got a system that probably needs some tinkering, since both of these guys represent an era of football and a dynasty that deserves to be enshrined in the Hall.
Well, listen, I don't know about Robert Kraft, but we know Bill Belichick should have been on the first vote. I hope with the two of them not making it, that the three former players did. It was Roger Craig, Ken Anderson, and L.C. Greenwood. And I hope all three got in. That would be, as former players, I know we always root for players more than anybody else. Now, Belichick, that's a joke.
Right.
And whatever needs a fixin' for that. But hopefully in the aftermath of all of this, that those three players did get in.
Yeah, that would be the silver lining. Because you're right. And I think in that vein, it's why the Kraft news, and we got all the takes out of the way that felt like they would have been similar to this one. But I have a hard time getting fired up about an owner not making it into the Hall of Fame, considering how many standard deviation points they are away from the field. And I get it, right? A lot of teams who have been bad for a long time point to ownership and say, hey, there's a reason. You usually look up for the teams that have been perennially bad. And Robert Kraft deserves a lot of credit for shepherding an organization, allowing the people underneath him to operate and do that. But it is the player brain in me. It's the way that we focus on the game. I'm just never going to be as up in arms about someone that far removed from the actual nuts and bolts on the field not getting in as I am for a player, and as I certainly am for someone with the resume of Bill Belichick.
Without question. Like, I'm sure Kraft will get in at some point. Belichick should have been in. We all know that. But I'm with you. And a good way you put it, the standard deviations away from the field of what you're contributing outside of signing paychecks. And there are obviously owners that are more involved and maybe shouldn't be involved. And there are owners that let the coaches and management team do the work. So I do believe Kraft will eventually get in, but this is player wise past the normal vote for them to get in. So they're really on the last legs of trying to get in the Hall of Fame. So as player people that we are, I really hope the best for the players.
It certainly will be. Man, I tell you who got handed plenty of ammunition here. I think John Hamm is hosting the NFL Honors this year. Got enough material to work with on this front concerning the Hall of Fame announcements and everything he'll have to work for there. And again, this will sort of pale in comparison to, the MVP debate that will go on when Matthew Stafford, I think, inevitably wins that award. Coach of the Year, going to be a ton of fun. But these are deciding who's going to be the people enshrined in the Hall of Fame in football forever, in perpetuity. And so that's just kind of the latest in this news here. Again, I don't think anything to get super up in arms about, especially for Robert Kraft, who this week, listen, we know it seems like this was something that was important to Robert Kraft, seemed like he campaigned for this in recent years to get on the ballot. And you can understand that given he's getting up there in age, everything he's accomplished, but he's also in a week where the team that he did help go and mastermind get back to this point, right? Like, he had to be one of the people that made the decision to get rid of Gerard Mayo after just 1 year after handpicking him to be the successor for Bill Belichick and go out here and get Mike Vrabel. So if you're not going to get into the Hall of Fame, at the very least, I think an easy soothe to that is, hey, your team that you helped make an important decision for is right back where you've always been.
Well, and we sit there and talked about who contributed most, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick, right? Then Brady left and won a Super Bowl in Tampa, and New England kind of went downhill. So people are like, and taking maybe credit away from Bill Belichick, which is ridiculous. He deserves a ton. But now Robert Kraft can say, listen, I'm back at the Super Bowl and possibly winning a Super Bowl without either of them. No Bill Belichick, no Tom Brady. Made the move to get rid of Gerard Mayo after 1 year, bring in Vrabel and bring back the glory days. So, and I'm sure he was chomping at the bit to get him before Bill Belichick. That didn't happen, but he did bring New England back to the Super Bowl without both the top people that took them to so many Super Bowls.
No, it's a great point. Like, we do that sort of, I don't want to call it reductive, but like, it's the easy sports talk argument of, all right, when you take someone away, who's left and what happens? And Robert Kraft, well, again, does he have a direct impact on what happens on the field each and every week? Absolutely not. But you're right. He can absolutely lay out all the chips on the table and say, there has been one constant through all this, and it's been him. So he deserves a lot of congratulations. And I guess you're right. As we kind of white-knuckled our way through the Belichick of all this, it did give way to, hey, these are 1% problems. Kind of like you always talked about, Dad, when the NFL players inevitably get ready to do battle with the league. And we'll hear from DeMarcus Lawrence later on, who was at the podium with the Seahawks, talking about the inevitability of 18 games in the NFL and what needs to come there. Like, when it comes to labor issues, we always focus on the 1%er issues, what we're going to do with things like the franchise tag that affect these guys on the high end who are making tons of money. And as you rightly point out, doesn't really mean anything for the rank and file. And while Hall of Fame voting is a reflection of this place where we keep the history of the sport, talking about the problems collectively of Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft not getting in on the first time when we know they're going to get in eventually and be part of a place that we always know. And so once you kind of zoom back out a little bit, remember there's other more real problems in the world, but certainly much more present in the game of football that we cover, it does make all this kind of feel silly.
Well, it does. I mean, we've had players in the past that weren't elected right away, and they would get so mad about it. They said, well, if I ever get elected, I'm not going in. And, of course, they change their mind when they finally get elected and go in. And you're right. I mean, these are true 1%er problems, even less than 1%er problems of people eventually being enshrined. But for them, like everything else in a competitive environment, it's a pride factor, right? You see other greats in the league, maybe in the past, that got in on the first ballot, and you believe you're the same level as them, and you believe you should get on the first ballot. When you don't, you feel slighted. But you're right. I mean, this is what we talk about. You zoom out and look at the big picture, It is kind of laughable.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, though, it has been a very nice change of pace to talk about this era of the New England Patriots. And Chris Hogan, speaking of this era of the New England Patriots, will join us later in the show, two-time Super Bowl champion, to talk about his reaction to this, relive a year where they went to 3 Super Bowls in 3 years and won 2 of them. And just a reminder, like, it's fun to look back and talk about the on-field success of those teams, because you think about what we've gotten in recent years, right? It's been Tom Brady's public life, everyone grading him as a broadcaster, moody Instagram posts, and then pair that with Bill Belichick and his relationship, everything that's gone wrong in North Carolina, all of that being put out on Front Street. The Patriots post this era had felt like tabloid news for so long. And I don't know, part of this was refreshing to kind of look back on this team, what they've accomplished, especially with more of that accomplishment happening this season, and remember like the good, simple times with this squad before we knew too much about everyone.
Yeah. How about it? How many times? Yeah, they and the amount of parades that Boston fans got to go to in all sports, the good old days that they're thinking about. Maybe they're rekindling them.
Maybe. And again, it's kind of nice because you don't have to accuse New England fans of living in the past now. Like, their future looks bright. And I think for this Patriots team, it becomes a really interesting thing when I spent a lot of time today thinking about them relative to last year's Washington Commanders team, right? And how you don't want to take this for granted. We hear this all the time. Dan Campbell, I thought, spoke super eloquently about this with the Lions a few years ago when they made a deep run in the postseason, lost. And he said, hey, I know this from a player, and you guys know this being around the league. You know this certainly as well as anyone, Dad. You're never guaranteed those trips. Year over year, it's never guaranteed it's going to look the same way. Hell, look at Kansas City. And so that Washington Commanders team was in the NFC Championship a year ago, and then injury and all this turmoil had them bottom out. Now they're looking at new coordinators and wondering if they're going to get back there. And for this New England Patriots team, it's not to say that they were schedule merchants or anything like that, but it's to acknowledge had an easier schedule, had some things break your way in the postseason injury-wise, and it came together well with a roster that you largely flipped and overhauled last year. Doesn't mean it'll necessarily go the same way next year when the schedule inevitably gets harder and you maybe have to deal with a few more bumps and bruises in places that make you like everybody else. And so it's an opportunity that, again, even for this franchise where it feels like you're always going to be here, I think Mike Vrabel will be able to impart that perspective on them as well as anybody, that they got to go out and try and get while the getting's good, because based on what we saw recently, there's no guarantee that they'll be back even this close next year, despite what we view as a good young core on this roster.
Oh, and I think Vrabel is the perfect leader for this team to show, hey, we did get back, but you got to fight to get back. You know, the Bill Belichickian way of, after winning a Super Bowl, be grumpy the next week because you're behind the 8 ball for every other team that has been gearing toward next season. But you're right. I mean, look at Dan Marino early in his career. The beginning of his career, getting to a Super Bowl, losing, and basically kind of a little bit, after the game was bummed, certainly, but still kind of happy, like, this is the beginning of my career, man. I'm going to get back to a bunch of these. Never got back again. So, yeah, I mean, you never know. You think you're going to be good enough, like we thought in 91 when I was with the Eagles. That was our year. First game of the season, Randall Cunningham gets his knee blown out. We're sitting there looking at each other going, no way that friggin' just happened. And our season falls apart when we thought that was the year. So you just never know.
No, certainly. And the same could be said for Seattle on the other side, right? As Clint Kubiak is expected to leave and take a new job. Sam Darnold was this incredible wonder who's been on a 2-year heater. Can that continue? All of it underscores what's going to be an incredible Super Bowl week here. So a lot more to get to, a stat guest list today. Coming up next, the NBA always sneaking in some fun moves before the deadline at the beginning of Super Bowl week. We'll get to that and more next. Welcome back to Golic Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. Super Bowl week upon us, Radio Row popping off, and that means we get to head out there and talk to some of the best of the best as we welcome in, on behalf of the folks at Bounty, as you guys will very clearly see, hanging out, the Bounty Wing House Wingmen of the Week, Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle with us here now, kind of to give us some time from the NFC South champion Carolina Panthers. Guys, what's going on? Good to see you. How's Super Bowl and Radio Row treating you so far?
Been great. Thanks for having us on.
Are either one of you? Are either one of you guys been killing the wings yet at this point?
Yeah, we had a couple. We had a couple wings downstairs when we came up. Get some more when we get finished up today.
All right, there we go. Keep it the main thing for the time being, which is awesome and excited to hear about that. But I certainly want to reflect on your guys' season. We mentioned you won the NFC South. Oftentimes that division maybe doesn't get the respect it's owed, but you guys, I feel like, put a lot of people on notice, both with wins at the end of the regular season and certainly you're showing in the playoffs. Do you guys feel like you got a little more respect from people league-wide based on how you finished the season despite losing in the postseason?
Honestly, I feel like that's not really up for us to decide. We've always been eternally motivated. We play for each other. We play for the people in the building. So, we have confidence. We're excited for the future. We know that there's still a long road ahead. We still have a lot of work to do, but we're excited for that work. Kind of the opinions of the outside, we know that's not up to our control. So we just try to keep it in-house.
Yeah, man. And for me, I feel like each season is its own. So next season, you're going to start off 0-0 again, so you got to take it from there. I mean, you definitely want to continue to build off the good things you were able to do and carry that over into the next season. But this next season comes the new training camp. There's going to be new players on the team or new players coming in, people do drafting process and things like that. So, like I said, it's going to be 0-0, and you got to take from there, start from there from scratch.
Rico, looking at your last two seasons, your last season in Dallas and then your first in Carolina, your stats were almost identical from carries to yards to receptions. What to you was the biggest difference of Dallas and being in Carolina this year?
Just the people, I would say, coaching staff and things like that. That was different for me. But as far as like the scheme and running it, we was pretty much a mid-zone team here in Carolina. It was pretty similar to what I did in Dallas, rushing-wise, like the scheme and things like that. But like I said, obviously getting around new people, new coaches and things, that was probably the biggest difference for me. But football is football.
Certainly, Rico, for you, going to be a free agent coming up again. You were here on a one-year deal. Is the goal to be back in Carolina? Is Bryce recruiting you this week? How's this going?
No, I'm going to let my agents take care of that. Wherever I end up, I got to trust in the man above that he's going to put me in the right place for me and just go from there. Just let that work with my agents. But it all will work itself out for sure.
Bryce, you whispering in his ear at all?
I mean, everyone knows we want him back. We all know how special people are to our team. So definitely, hopefully, well, it's a business, whatever. That's my brother in the day. So whatever you got to do. But I really, really hope that that's it in Carolina.
Well, it seems like you guys got a great young core to build around. And for you, Bryce, what was this season like? Obviously, last year you went through some ups and downs, played really well at the end of the season, and had some more of those great highs this year. How have you and the organization addressed your future and any potential extensions coming up?
Same thing. We just all that stuff is out of my control. That's between people upstairs and agents. But for me, I'm just super, super, super grateful to be a part of the organization. Super grateful to be in Carolina. It's a great locker room, a great group of guys, and a good team. That our goal is to continue to grow and keep going. So just want to take that day by day.
So you're out there in San Francisco, Super Bowl, Patriots, Seahawks. You guys played both teams. Rico, let me start with you and start with Seattle. You played them in Week 17, so not all that long ago. Talk about their defense and the problems that they're going to pose. They posed for you and the problems they'll pose for New England.
They got a good front seven. They've been very good like throughout the whole season at controlling the run game and things like that. Also, they got great guys, a great secondary on the back end. So just well-rounded. They pretty much just overall corner, safeties, front seven, just a well-rounded defense, which is obviously led into them getting to where they at. I think it's played a huge role into how they got to where they at today. So definitely a great defense.
And on the other side, Bryce, you look at the quarterback in this matchup, Sam Darnold, the guy who was, in Carolina for a time, obviously has had a wild journey. As you look at the quarterback matchup in this game between him and then Drake May, who's another guy that was a high draft pick like yourself, what stands out to you about these guys and why they've been able to get their teams to this point?
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch. From watching film, being able to play against both. I have a ton of respect for both quarterbacks. Like you said, it's really, really cool to see the resiliency of Sam. He's been playing at such a high level, doing whatever the team needs him to do to win. It's him being able to have the success. It's really, really fun to see. And Drake, he's he's a superstar. It's really, really cool to watch him grow, watch him play. Have a ton of respect for his game. And both these guys, again, it's I have so much respect for both of them leading their teams to this spot in the Super Bowl. So two great players. I'm really excited to watch both of them play.
Well, I have a ton of respect for the restraint you guys have both shown with a plate of wings in between the two of you, and neither's touched them during the interview. So outside of tempting you with great, delicious wings, what do you guys got going on with the folks at Bounty this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just out here expansion, this great expansion. We came up here, met with these guys, a great group of people. Like I said, out here just enjoying the Pro Bowl expansion. Just remember, you can't have ball without wings, and you can't have wings without bounty. It's the main thing.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, I hope for your guys' sake, they also let you walk out of here with the cardigans that you guys are wearing the hell out of right now. So it's a
trying to politic for it.
There we go. Clip it, send it to the folks at Bounty, let them know they're leaving here, and they're leaving here with the cardigans. Fellas, we appreciate the time. Enjoy this week. Thank you for stopping by here, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Sir, thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. You too, guys. Awesome stuff. Listen, we were right next to the Bounty booth last year and saw it was bomber jackets for those guys. They're throwing paper towels through Target. So the Bounty House is always fun, but the cardigans are a great look. Absolutely steal those. It is your right.
Oh, I'm going to be there tomorrow, and I'm going to kill those wings. Let me tell you, I was having a problem. They're sitting right next to them and didn't touch them. I'm going to be next to them tomorrow and the rest of the week. I am going to have some serious heartburn.
All right, there we go. Well, at least you'll be prepared for all that. So, listen, for those two guys, they're going to get to watch their teammate, Tedero McMillan, I think, win Offensive Rookie of the Year after the season that he had, a huge part of that. But it's going to be interesting to see the dilemma they have on their hands in the backfield. Rico Dowdle, we mentioned, going to be a free agent, was kind of part of a timeshare with Chuba Hubbard, who is a guy the Panthers gave a contract extension to. And then when he was banged up, Rico Dowdle goes on this tear, looks incredible, but clearly towards the end of the season, still a timeshare in that backfield. I know Dowdle was frustrated at the end of the year with this carry usage. So they've got decisions to make for this young core that they're trying to build while also figuring out. They picked up the fifth-year option for Bryce. Is he going to be your long-term answer? And it seems like this year they're content to make him prove that again.
And while this division isn't the best division in football, it's certainly competitive with Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta all finishing at 8-9 and went down to week 18 before Carolina was crowned champion. So certainly an arrow up in this division as far as who is going to win it, but very, very competitive.
Yeah, no, going to be very interested to see the Panthers, your reigning champ. So to beat the best, you got be the best. You got to beat the best. And right now in the South, that is them here. You know who's the best? Our guy Stan Verrett. We try and tell you about him as much as we can. Right after us here on FanDuel Sports Network, Countdown Live, presented by Prime. Comes up after us, get you all the news, notes, information, and hang out with Stan Verrett. That's cool as hell. Right after us, before you get to the night of games here on the network. Welcome back to Golic Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Todd Monken. You are the next Cleveland Browns head coach. And we know with that is going to come a host of complications and problems, the likes of which we're pretty used to seeing for the land, namely at quarterback. So when Todd Monken took to the podium for the first time as the Browns head coach, he was understandably asked about Shedeur Sanders, the future at that position. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think like any position on the team, that's still to be determined. Am I excited about Shedeur? Am I excited about all the quarterbacks in the room? Am I excited to coach this football team? Absolutely. I can't wait for them to get back and for us to get started.
So Todd Monken also went on to say, that without getting too much into it, had said how much he enjoyed scouting Shedeur coming out of college, even in Baltimore, looking at him potentially as a later round guy and all those things. But reading between the lines, it seems pretty obvious they're going to do a full eval at that position. And Shedeur Sanders, despite playing well at times last year and looking like a rookie fifth-round picks at times last year, is guaranteed nothing, which is about the way it should be.
Listen, it all depends on the process they want to go through. They have a win-now defense, right? Led by who's going to be the defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett. It's a win-now defense. The offense obviously is not. So we know that there's no 5-year plans. There's barely 3-year plans in the NFL. So you have to build sooner rather than later. So while you're finding out if Shedeur, Dylan Gabriel, probably, I'm sure Shedeur will get the first look, is going to be your quarterback. You've got to bring in a quarterback, right? You have to have a veteran on that roster. I think you have to, whether it's going to, and I would say to compete with Shedeur and Dylan and say, let the best man win. And if it's the veteran, then the others still come along as young quarterbacks. I don't know if you're in a position to put the organization in the hands of Shedeur Sanders when you have a defense that's ready to win now, that you may want to bring in a veteran who could move that offense a little bit better.
Yeah, it certainly seems like at minimum that's what's got to happen. We know this is a team that had a ton of draft capital for a year where the quarterback situation in the draft just isn't quite what we thought it was going to be. And so I don't know if another, mid to late round flyer is what this team needs at that point. So I think you're right. Bring in someone who knows what they're doing, help Todd Monken get this thing off the ground. You mentioned defense, though. The other soundbite from Todd Monken that I thought was particularly juicy at the podium was him talking about the situation with the former defensive coordinator, maybe future, like we've heard different things. Mary Kay Cabot at Cleveland.com said that, there was a potential for reconciliation there. We've seen how money healed things in the past with Myles Garrett. But Todd Monken made it very clear that when he took this job, a huge part of it was the sell of the defense. And as he emphasized, the players. And his quote was, when I was preparing for the Cleveland Browns, I wasn't chipping Jim Schwartz. I was chipping Myles Garrett. Dad, this seemed perturbed in a way that I was a bit surprised by, given that the hope we were heard this entire time was that they would pair Todd Monken with Jim Schwartz. And for an organization that seemed like that was the mandate during the hiring process, to one, have the reaction from Jim Schwartz that they didn't predict initially off, this is one thing. But now to have the guy you came in and hired immediately fire off shots at the podium does not seem like a place that had this situation handled at all.
No. And while, listen, I have always said this, where offense, defense, special teams, whatever, it's the players that execute on the field. So I always do put more on the players than the coaches. That doesn't mean the coaches aren't unbelievably important. And what Jim Schwartz has done with that defense, you look at other great coordinators, Brian Flores in Minnesota, Robert Saleh, who was in San Francisco and now got himself another head coaching job, and others as well, Vance Joseph. I mean, just really, really good defensive coordinators. It's that is surprising that he would go down that road. I completely agree.
Yeah, interesting start to his Browns tenure, to say the least. So plenty to put a pin in and keep an eye on in Cleveland. As always, that place keeps it interesting at head coach and quarterback. Super Bowl week, busy, gives us a chance to talk to some incredibly fun and exciting people like our next guest, Akbar Gbaja-Biamila, kind enough to join us, former NFL defensive lineman, the host of American Ninja Warrior, going into its 14th season, which is incredible. Here on behalf of the folks at Experian, here to be your BFF, your big financial friend, and help people stay on top of their finances. Certainly excited to hear about that. But Akbar, good to see you, man. How you doing? How's the start of your Super Bowl week going?
It's starting off great, coming out here on a Tuesday before the big storm. Of course, they've got the Pro Bowl coming up, and that's really exciting. It's different, it's the different feel. I'm still getting used to the new format, but it's really cool. And here right now in Media Center, I just realized you can't say Radio Row anymore. So I'm here at the Media Center having some fun, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, the one thing you don't see anymore at a Pro Bowl are pads, do you? No shoulder pads, no thigh pads, no helmets, no nothing.
Can I tell you, I remember when my brother, played, of course, a long time for the Packers. And I remember when he got his first Pro Bowl, and we were all so excited as a family. And I remember packing my bags, hurrying up and hopping on a plane to Hawaii and just, being there for the entire festivities and just seeing kind of everything. And I missed that, and it's turned into something different. And, it's just not the same, and I don't know, call me an old school guy, but I love to see the pads of, seeing the dream team, so to speak, put together and playing a real football game.
Well, I mean, listen, I feel like you're the perfect person to bring this up to, though, because the NFL clearly is looking for alternatives to that. We mentioned you're getting close to a decade and a half with American Ninja Warrior. Have you ever pitched them on the idea of just putting the Pro Bowl guys to the American Ninja Warrior course? Like, how many of these guys do you think would actually have a shot at getting through that?
Yeah, what's funny is that I did pitch that to him, and what ended up happening was they ended up hiring the same production company for American Ninja Warrior to host the Pro Bowl, and so we saw some of those different types of challenges over the last 3 or 4 years when A. Smith Production took over, and then Peyton Manning's production company they took over, and they've been running it. But they just say, hey, let's do the football version of Ninja Warrior, and that happened. So I'm glad that the NFL, Roger Goodell, I'm glad they actually listened.
So as I sit here and continue to watch American Ninja Warrior, I think of back when I first started playing. I think, I could do this course. Now my shoulders would fall off. I would fall. It would be horrific. What position do you think a football player would work best through that course?
Well, we've had some good linemen come through. Sean Merriman got wiped out. We've had Jordan Babineau come out. The only guy to ever complete it in a regular qualifying outside of myself, who completed a buzzer, I'm just plugging myself in there, but Cam Wembley. Cam Wembley did it while he was playing, and the NFL found out and said, no, you can't do it. So even though he advanced to the next round, they told him he couldn't do it. So he couldn't advance only because they're like, you can't do Ninja Warrior. But I've had Aaron Rodgers hit me up like, yo, I can do it. I can do this. This is when he was with the Packers. I was like, bro, you're worth too much money. You can't do it. you can't do it. But I think the position that we haven't had that I think could do well, wide receivers. And I got 2 wide receivers in this game who I've pointed to that could be hosts. And I'm going to try to approach them to do it. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, could absolutely be a Ninja Warrior. And on the other side, Mac Hollins. I think Mac Hollins has everything. The dude walks around with no shoes on. His hair is wild. He's into all these other extreme things. And Ninja Warrior is an extreme sport. So why not Mac Hollins?
Boy, it seems like the perfect marriage of personality, skill set, and event. You're absolutely right. I can't believe we didn't see that before. So it's incredible to think about that. This is also just kind of like an incredible conversation to have in general. We mentioned live out the dream. You're playing in the NFL, as is your brother. It's already such a special thing. But now to see the career that you've made for yourself after that. I know you're here with Experian talking about helping people out, financially. But for you, as you think about how you made the transition, watching other guys make that transition, what were the pain points in that? Like, how was it for you, and what do you see now and try and impart onto other guys as they're getting ready to take that next step in their career and life as well?
Well, it's a great question. Being able to watch other guys do it. One of the things that I had, like the pain point, was the insecurity that I did not have a big NFL career like my brother had. And so I thought, who's going to want to give me that opportunity to showcase what I have? Kind of like what, Sam Darnold's had after, kind of going through his points. Like, they're like, oh, well, they kind of label you, right? Everybody wants to typecast you as a certain thing. And so I had to take an alternative route where I started working for free locally, doing the Aztecs since I played at San Diego State, and doing the Chargers post-game shows down in San Diego. And then just really built that up into working at the NFL Network, doing fantasy football at a time when former players didn't want to talk about fantasy football. And then I moved that into doing Ninja Warrior, then the talk. And that has just really kind of helped trying to launch off my my entertainment career. But, shout out to Michael Strahan, who was very, very instrumental in helping me develop that, and me cold calling him like a salesman and like, yo, can I come shadow you? He's like, yeah, you can come shadow me. He goes, by the way, nobody's ever called me to do that. I literally cold called him. Didn't play with Michael, didn't know Michael. I just cold called him, and he's like, yeah, come follow me. So I follow him, Good Morning America. At the time, he's doing Kelly and Michael. And so that was really influential for me in my career.
It's incredible. It's been a great journey, and what a career you have carved out for yourself now. It's been awesome to watch. Speaking of helping people, we know you're here on behalf of the folks at Experian. What can you tell us about them, the app, and what you're doing at Super Bowl week?
Yeah, so this week, it's all about really just getting people the access and the information about taking control over their finances. And so Experian wants everybody to know, this brand partnership is about them being your big financial friend, your BFF, and everybody needs a BFF. And to have somebody like Experian and have an app that's on your phone that you can carry anywhere you want. The average American spending over $1,000 a year on unpaid subscription that they're just not aware about. I know I've got 4 kids. They figured out my passcode, and they're downloading apps. It's free, Dad. It's free. You know, for 7 days. You know, now all of a sudden you got all these money coming out and you have no idea because they done hit you up for a bunch of free ads and free, you know, apps. And this has really been kind of the thing that they've been stealing money from being unaware. And we want to bring that back. So Experian is really helping people get that back from unpaid subscriptions, or excuse me, paid subscriptions that you're unaware of, and then helping people to boost their credit score, not just by swiping credit cards, but literally self-reporting your bills that you pay, your utility bills, your streaming services. So Experian is really here to help. And I'm passionate about this, especially some of the financial woes I've had to overcome after, you know, retiring from the NFL, and really try to help people become and normalize financial conversations and financial responsibility.
It's incredibly worthwhile. I know my dad could probably use help figuring out all the services my sister's been using on his credit card too. So very helpful for everyone.
Come on, Golic. Download the Experian app.
There we go. Download the app. And as always, check out Akbar Gbaja-Biamila doing all the great work in media that he's doing. Appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the rest of this week. Thanks so much.
And thank you so much. And I give you guys your flowers, man. It's so cool to see you guys as a family crushing it. I go way back. I don't want to make myself sound old, but I go way back with you, Mike. So it's so cool to see what you guys are doing as a family. So maybe one day I'll get a chance to do this with my son too. So
there you go, man.
Hey, there we go. Speaking into existence. Absolutely. Yes. Appreciate it, Akbar. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, coming up next, we'll visit with a 2-time Super Bowl champion, Chris Hogan, and talk about what the Pats need to do to get back on the podium this season. Next. Welcome back to Golic Golic, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. Surprise, surprise, the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl, as is their birthright this time. Mike Vrabel, former player, takes Drake May, new quarterback, and tries to add to the storied history of this franchise. And to talk more about that and what it's like getting ready for Super Bowl week, Chris Hogan kind of to join us now, former Patriots wide receiver, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and the co-host of the Patriots Report alongside Chris Price on the Believe Network here. Chris, good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
This is always a tough week because we never went to any Super Bowls, and we're always bringing on people, especially those that have not won one, but multiple Super Bowls. So let's go to the end first. What was it different when you won the first one to the second one?
Yeah, I mean, the way that we won the first one, I think, was just one of those games that's going to go down, you know, in history as one of the better Super Bowls to be played. And then, you know, the second one was a great game. It just was obviously we won it a very different way. That was, you know, offense struggled a little bit, had to kind of find a way to win a football game, get some points on the board, flip the script to when we played Atlanta. I mean, it was a totally different game. And the way that we won, you know, being down, you know, that was one of the most epic games. I mean, I watched some clips of it the other night. I still get chills and nervous about it, being down 28-3 and then finding a way to win was pretty incredible. So the after party and that one was just a little bit sweeter, you know.
Yeah, what do you remember that you can tell us about the after party from that one?
I mean, like, listen, from the history of like how I got into the league and then to be in a Super Bowl, it was a very surreal moment. So a lot of it was spent with my family and friends that had traveled and made it to the Super Bowl. And then there was another part of it where I was in a room with, you know, Snoop Dogg, Julian and Danny. So, and I won't get into that, but like, it was a surreal moment, man. I mean, you know, the rolling it from the Super Bowl party to back on the plane to straight to a parade, you know, in the snow. It was a whirlwind of, you know, 48 hours that I definitely needed, you know, a week or two to recover from. But listen, those moments, you know, those memories that I had from my playing career, I mean, those are some of the best times that I've ever had with that group, that team, right? That team was special that we had for those 3 years. We added some pieces here and there for some of those Super Bowls, but those teams were really special.
Yeah, we're going to get into your history. Lacrosse at Penn State, a year of eligibility left. You went to Monmouth and played football, and next thing you know, you're a 2-time Super Bowl champ. So we're going to get into that because I definitely have a question or two about lacrosse. But how you talk about a special team, how special is this current Patriot team?
Special. I've talked about it at length this year on my podcast with my podcast partner, Chris Price. this team just it gives me like 2016 vibes, 2017, like the way that this team has rallied around their head coach, rallied around their quarterback. They haven't listened to any of the outside stuff that's going on in the media and what everyone's talking about, their easy schedule, and they played this quarterback and they got this break and they got lucky, and it's all nonsense to me, because at the end of the day, they're gonna, if they go in and they win this game this weekend, they're not going down as a team that, oh, they got lucky to be there. Like they're going down as a Super Bowl winning team. And I think for what Vrabel has done, what Elliott has done, what Mr. Kraft has done this year, and making all of these decisions, pretty much getting rid of every person that had been in that organization prior to Mike getting there, he has really built this team from the ground up. He's brought in guys that were, I mean, I'm not going to call them no-name guys, but guys like Robert Spillane, Landry, brought in Steph Diggs off an ACL injury. He's got Drake, who's, really benefited, I think, a lot from having Josh McDaniels, and he's done incredible. But there's not any guys out there on this roster that you just stick out and, oh, that's a first rounder. Like, this is not a team built off of first rounders. It's built off of good football players that wanted to come here, that wanted to win, that wanted to have a chance to, be coached by Mike and this coaching staff. And he's done it, man. He's done it all year round. I mean, they had like one bump in the beginning of the year, which is just ironic that they lose to, the team that had the worst record in the NFL this year. And then all of a sudden now they're in the Super Bowl. But like, that's the NFL, man. They had to kind of go through their process and, battle a little bit of adversity and some injuries here and there, but they haven't backed down from anyone. They've played tough football. They've ran through the gauntlet in the playoffs. So I don't care what you want to talk about with who they had to play. They had to play 3 of the top 10 defenses, in the playoffs. And yeah, sure, they got a break with Bo breaking his foot, and that was a really tough break for that kid, and it was really, sad to see, because I thought he had an incredible year, and I think it would have been a really good game if he was a part of it. But this, that's the NFL. Things happen. Next man up, right? And that's kind of how this team has always approached it. It's that next man up mentality, regardless of who goes down and regardless who's playing. Doesn't really matter. There is no guy out there on offense that's, the number one receiver or getting a million targets a game. Drake's spreading the ball around. He's doing a good job. Ball security was a little bit of an issue, but now it seems like we've corrected it. And like, listen, again, you watch. I told a story the other day about the young kid Travion Henderson running in for a touchdown against Tennessee, and not a lot of time on the clock, and he could have easily scored a touchdown. But he's looking over at the sideline with 2 hands on the ball, asking a coach what to do. Like, that to me is a team that just wants to do everything they can to win football games, regardless. They're not out there for themselves. They're out there for playing for this team, and they are where they are because of the work that they put in. And, hopefully they can cap this season off with a win. And, they've earned it. They really have. They've earned the right to be there.
No question. And you mentioned being here is a place where a lot of the Patriots have been a very different looking group in a lot of ways. But you mentioned Robert Kraft, the through line and all this. And certainly for so many years, it was Bill Belichick. And in the last couple of weeks, we've had so much conversation around their Hall of Fame candidacies. And now we get word that Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, both not enough votes to make the Hall of Fame class this year. How surprised were you that neither of these guys wound up as first ballot Hall of Famers?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me. It's if those guys haven't done enough to be first ballot Hall of Famers and get all the votes needed to be there, I don't know what else more they could do. I mean, Bill's got 8 rings, 6 as a head coach and 2 as an assistant coach, and Robert has been one of the best owners in the National Football League since he took over this organization and has built the Patriots and Foxborough and from where it was to where it is now, and to make the decisions, and obviously everything that they went through with, Bill and Tom, and then to have to go through this new head coaching experience of bringing someone else new in and trying to remain that team to be in the NFL. They went through a little bit of bumps, but they were able to do it. He was able to make the right decisions and get the guy that they needed, which it seems like a lot of teams and a lot of organizations struggle with, every single year. And again, like, I don't, it doesn't make any sense to me. Both of those guys are some of the best people, best coaches, best owners I've ever been around. I mean, Bill, as much as, he loves to get underneath your skin and coach you hard. That's how it was. I mean, that's the type of caliber of athlete and football player that he brought into his team, was a guy that was going to be able to accept criticism, accept coaching, be able to, try to get the best out of you. And I loved my time in New England, and Bill taught me so much about the game of football and being a pro, and gave me an opportunity to be a part of really great teams. And he, in my view, and a lot of other people's views, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, listen, there's no question. That just shows a flawed system that he is not in on the first ballot. Let's end it with this. As we mentioned, you played lacrosse at Penn State, 2-time All-Stater in high school in lacrosse, finished your football career at Monmouth. If you had to just turn around right now in this interview and go outside, would you be more comfortable scoring a touchdown or scoring in lacrosse?
Touchdown, without a doubt. I mean, listen, the stick is in my hands now quite often, since I'm in the youth sports world of coaching my son and all of his friends. And I'm out there a couple of days a week with a lacrosse stick. But football, I did it for so long and ingrained it in my brain of running routes and catching a football and doing those things. I could piece it together. Get me in the red zone, but I can't run very far anymore. So let's like inside the 5-yard line. I could probably get open. Let's call it like 5 times. I get open like once or twice if I get a little pick play off, maybe a little motion before the line, before the ball snapped. I can find something. Give me Josh McDaniels and his mastermind in the red zone. I'm telling you right now, I get open. I can find a way.
I was going to say, be careful. He might be giving you a call this week as they go along here and take use of some of that big game experience here. Check out the Patriots Report, awesome podcast on the Believe Network, like Chris said, alongside Chris Price, doing a phenomenal job, taking everyone through an incredible season for this Patriots team and organization. Can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate the time and enjoy the rest of this week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Speaking of enjoying the rest of this week, you're going to enjoy tomorrow a couple of Lions, Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, some Hosses in here. Don't worry, be happy. Coming up next, not a lot of happy faces in Memphis. We'll document a wild day in the NBA's trade world next. Hour number 2 here on a Super Bowl Tuesday. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. Still plenty of great guests coming your way. Brent Musburger, the legend, is going to join us here in just a few minutes. And the Hasselbeck, we've got Matt Hasselbeck and his daughter Annabelle, who's stopping by as well. Budding media star and former lacrosse national champion at Boston College. So it's a family-packed day here at Golic and Golic.
Yeah, by the way, Matt's daughter has way more accolades than Matt. I mean, Matt can just sit there and listen to this interview as we talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's important to focus on the infinitely more talented children of famous parents who played football in the NFL and not pay any mind to the older generation. I am glad that we are all in agreement on this front. With that in mind, let's get you caught up on what you've missed so far in our 3-point stance. I boxed him in, ladies and gentlemen. The Giants boxed him in. Matt Nagy going to be the new offensive coordinator for the G-Men, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Remember, he spent the last 3 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs after being the head coach for the Chicago Bears, and now will be tasked with helping lead the development of Jackson Dart in year number 2 as they hope to get Cam Scadaboo and Malik Neighbors back from injury on an offense that holds plenty of promise going forward. Speaking of promise is kept. Jalen Duren joins the NBA Slam Dunk Contest, the first-time All-Star accepted the invitation to participate in the All-Star Weekend in L.A., according to Shams Charania at ESPN. He was an All-Star reserve. He joins the Lakers center Jackson Hayes and Spurs rookie Carter Bryant in the dunk contest field so far, the 6'10", 13th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. And the NBA They've been busy today. Everyone firing up the trade machine and just letting it sing. The latest, the Boston Celtics have acquired Nikola Vucevic in a trade with the Chicago Bulls, according to Shams at ESPN. Boston's going to trade their guard Anthony Simons and a second-round pick to Chicago to send Vooch now to a contender in the Boston Celtics, who have been one of the surprises of the season, but needed some health inside to supplement the youth there. So busy day, and this kind of happens every year in Super Bowl week, right?
Yeah.
The NBA's trade deadline usually lines up, and they kind of steal some headlines early in the week, but this one of a number of them. And Dad, for the Boston Celtics, right, have to be the biggest surprise, maybe outside of Oklahoma City, or excuse me, not Oklahoma City, San Antonio being ahead of schedule this year. I mean, Boston has to be up there in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, sitting there tied for second behind Detroit with the Knicks 5.5 out. And you mentioned Vucevic is going to be able to be that man in the middle. They've had young, kind of unproven talent in the middle there. He is 35 years old, so they're obviously in win-now mode. Still don't know what the deal is with Jason Tatum as far as if he's going to come back or not. This team obviously led by Jaylen Brown, but certainly putting themselves in position to be a little more stout in the middle.
Yeah, and for Chicago, right, the fire sale kind of begins. They were part of a three-team trade as well today, where Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit agreed to a multi-team deal that sends Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley to the Bulls and Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric to the Pistons, sources told Sham. Meanwhile, the Pistons also receive a 2026 first-round protected pick swap from Minnesota in the deal. Minnesota didn't receive a player, but moved Connolly, which helps them out financially. They're now under the first apron and dropped their luxury tax bill from $24 million to $3.8 million, which I saw our buddy Field Yates kind of pull out the old Brian Windhorse meme as the Minnesota Timberwolves start to clear a little bit of salary on the books. Now, why is that, Dad? As we'd imagine, this is one of the teams rumored in the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes, either around the deadline or going into the summer. So you wonder if Minnesota is going to start to clear the way a little bit to see if they can put the Greek Freak there with Anthony Edwards and try and build that foundation for the future.
That is going to be a massive deal. Now, we had a massive deal with Memphis and Utah with 8 players being traded, but that Giannis deal, when it happens, and I think we all believe it's going to be a when, not if, whether it's by the trade deadline or in the summer, is going to be a monster trade.
Monster trade. Certainly others that sent shotwaves through today. Jaren Jackson Jr. traded from the Grizzlies to the Utah Jazz. As don't look now, the Grizzlies getting 3 first-round picks back. They're now tied with the Brooklyn Nets and the Oklahoma City Thunder for the most first-round picks in the next 7 years. 13 picks, which to me is interesting in a lot of ways, this Grizzlies team and what they were supposed to be. Clearly sunsetting that. I'm sure Ja Morant's going to get moved for parts after this too. Yep. Utah adds defense. They're done tanking. But the Grizzlies now, the big takeaway for me was Oklahoma City is tied with them for the most third-round picks in the next 7 years. The best team in the NBA, the reigning champions, also still have a treasure trove of picks going forward in a number of years. It's fascinating to me the job Sam Presti's done, but the Grizzlies apparently going to try their hand at that too.
Yeah, that's good GMing is what that is. But you're right with the Grizzlies. I mean, just absolutely stockpiling. They're going to be a completely different team. And Jaren Jackson to Utah to make that team a little deeper. He was Defensive Player of the Year, I think, at 22, 23 season. He's only 26 years old, so he's got a lot of time left in the tank.
Yeah, and certainly, Lord knows Utah could use that help. They're the worst defense in the NBA in terms of points allowed. So, interesting day to say the least. Sad day for people hoping that the Grindhouse era of the Grizzlies would be followed up by this bright young core that they had a few years ago, nipping at the heels of the Warriors in the West. And instead, this is what's happening before the deadline here. So always interesting. Like I said, the NBA keeping us on our toes in football land at the beginning of Super Bowl week here. Tell you who else always keeps us on our toes. Our next guest, Brent Musburger, kind enough to join us. Broadcasting legend, co-founder, and contributor over at VSiN, and already got the hat ready to go. Is that one of the new ones from this week, Brent? How you doing?
Hey, the Golics. How are you, lads? There's a story behind this hat. There's a story. So here we go. I'm revealing it to the Golics for the first time. You fellas have heard of Mattress Mac, correct?
Yes.
Owns Gallery Furniture. Went across the border from Texas. His stores are in Houston. Drove over Louisiana, dialed up Caesars, and bet $2 million on the Patriots to win this week's Super Bowl. And then he went back to Gallery Furniture, and here came the promotion. You buy $4,000 worth of furniture, you get it free if the Patriots win. I'm on the phone. Mattress, this is Brent up in Vegas. I want to buy a bed. This one I've got's getting a little old, okay? So he sold me the top of the line, the Tempur-Pedic, going to be delivered this week. I'm all in on the Patriots. And you know what? Even if they lose, I've still got one of the great mattresses in the world. I can't lose. You know what I mean?
But you know what? But free is always better, right? So free would be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Wow. I probably won't be able to sleep on that new mattress on Saturday night. You know, I'll be so fired up. We got to go. Drake May, we got to do it. But I got my bold buddy, Mike Vrabel, who I covered at Ohio State, okay, back when he was just a kid. I've got that veteran coach on the sideline for me. So we'll see what happens.
So you talk about this gambling mattress, Mac. It's a great story, but you've been in broadcasting for a long time. Talk about the difference of when you were broadcasting games to now broadcasting games while also bringing in the gambling.
Oh, I got to tell you, it has changed completely. You know, we used to sneak in maybe the spread or the over-under number, and now you go up and I watch my buddies on ESPN or Fox or CBS, and then there was that scroll line at the bottom, and now they're even putting the props out there, you know? Will either of these quarterbacks throw an interception? I was just looking at Kalshi. Now, it's one of those prediction markets that's legal all over the country because they follow only federal law. Listen, right now, on this Tuesday, as I speak to you, they have booked $161 million plus, okay? That's betting on tomorrow. So just think about that. We're going to have billions and billions of dollars bet on this game this week. It is absolutely amazing. Even when I thought 10 years ago should be legalized, thank you, Supreme Court, I never thought we would reach the amounts that we are right now, especially with the National Football League. I mean, I can even bet on what color dress Bad Bunny is going to wear at his, singing at the halftime. You know what I mean? It's incredible.
It really is. It is a world that has changed so much, and one that you met, I think, a lot earlier than most in that regard. But like you said, for it to be the NFL, for it to be the stage like this in the Super Bowl, something that you've been a part of covering in the past in your jobs throughout this sport, how different is covering this event, the weight of it, the gravity of it as you go into a weekend like this?
Let me give you one example. I was a newspaper man 60 years ago, okay? That's Super Bowl I in Los Angeles between the Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. I was working for Chicago's American. And the commissioner, Pete Rozelle, had been a friend because he'd traveled into Chicago a lot and he'd previewed games and he became the commissioner. He gave me tickets. He gave me 4 tickets to Super Bowl I in the Los Angeles Coliseum. Price was, I think, $25 a piece, okay? I could not give them away. I've got those tickets stored in a box somewhere up in a barn in Montana, okay? There were empty seats that day. There were empty seats, okay, in the Coliseum. And now to get in and get any kind of a seat, you're going to drop about $1,000 to get a good view of the game. I mean, the growth of the Super Bowl in this country is staggering. And now the commissioner is taking dead aim at Europe, South America. They're even going down to Australia. We've got a home game coming up for the Los Angeles Rams down there. And Seattle would like to go down and play a regular season game down in Melbourne. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but the league is going into Paris for the first time. I worked the American League, the football league over in Europe. Okay, Dick Vermeil and I. Listen, they didn't even have the measurements on the field right back in the day when we were doing it, you know. And now it's a prize attraction. So the growth of this league is just incredible.
Brent, do you think we will ever have a Super Bowl outside the United States?
I hope not. Okay, unless there's a team. If there were to be a franchise in London, then I would be on board. But I don't think the way they're doing it now that they should move a Super Bowl. I know there was been some chatter about it this year, but this is the biggest individual sporting event of the year. You just look at the TV ratings, the attendance, the prices, the amount that you need to keep it in the USA unless they're a franchise overseas. That changes the equation.
Certainly, and we know the NFL has made it a very open point. They're going to continue to try and get as close to that as possible. Robert Kraft mentioned maybe creating a team in the aggregate by having everyone play a game over there as they expand the schedule. Do you think 18 games is the right amount, too much? Where are you at on the continued expansion of the NFL's regular season?
Well, I would like to see it be even. And I think in fairness to the players, they should have 2 days off during an 18-game season, okay? They should have 2 bye weeks going forward. But I would like to see it back to an even. Now I'm a season ticket holder for the Raiders, so every other year we get 9 and then 8, and it's a little off-putting if you're a season ticket holder. But no, I would be in favor. Obviously, you've got to talk to the Players Association because their health – and we know what a drain it is physically on these guys going forward. So good conversation. But there's no reason why you can't have a couple of preseason games, an 18-game regular season schedule. Maybe expand the rosters so you've got a few more linemen around that you can use and rotate in because, injuries. Listen, the commissioner said when he was speaking that injuries are down on the kickoff, and now they're going to look at the punt. I know President Trump doesn't like that kickoff, but I found that I like it because we do get more returns as fans, and I think that was good. I've watched it live, and I've watched, of course, a lot of it on television. So I think the league moved in the right direction on that.
Completely agree. A couple of kicking moves, moving the extra point back so it wasn't automatic, changing the kickoff. I agree. I think have been very good moves. So obviously there are tons of ways to bet the Super Bowl. What I always look at the prop bets as the more interesting kind of things. What are some prop bets out there that you like?
Well, it's interesting because there was more money according to the books like FanDuel and DraftKings. There was more money bet last year on the props. Okay, I always focus in on the big three. Okay, focus in on the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the wide receivers, okay? I always like to take a favorite and a long shot to score the first touchdown, and maybe who you've got for the first touchdown, you can bet an anytime touchdown on him. I always kind of stick to those. I don't change the point. Now, I always like to bet the over-under, and I have bet the under on this game because if my Patriots are going to win it, we need the defenses to show up on both sides, okay? Sam Darnold is a wonderful, wonderful story. Hats off to him. The Jets, the Panthers, the Niners, the Vikings, and now the Seahawks, okay? And he was supposed to be a complete failure. And here he is with a chance to win the Super Bowl. He's just a wonderful, wonderful story, the way he resurrected his career. And Clint Kubiak, who's responsible for this offense that they put together. He apparently is going to be the next head coach here in Las Vegas with the Raiders. And I think that's good, because it looks like Fernando Mendoza will be the first player picked by the Raiders. Hey, listen, interesting trivia, and you go back and check this out. The Patriots are only the third or the fourth team to ever make a Super Bowl having lost a regular season game to the team that winds up with the first draft choice. And, of course, back on game one, the Raiders up in New England, they beat the Patriots in game one. Geno Smith had his best game of the year. So did Pete Carroll. And they both went right downhill after that, if you know what I mean. So Mendoza, in fact, one of the teams that did it way back in the day, the Indianapolis Colts beat someone, okay? And that team, it might have been Washington. You got to have to check me on this. They went to the Super Bowl, and the Colts drafted Peyton Manning, number one. One of the few teams. So it's an interesting story. And but when it comes to the props, I would look at the quarterbacks, key running backs, and the key wide receivers. I think you have more fun with that, to tell you the truth. Oh, but you got to bet the coin flip. But let me give you a tip. Don't bet the books. I mean, you got to pay 103 or one. Come on. You don't lay juice on a coin flip. You find a buddy in that living room. You say, what do you want? Heads or tails? Blah, 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 blah. So you bet each other even up, okay? That gets the game started. Now, the second bet with your buddy, how long is the national anthem, okay? And it's up around 2 minutes. You can find the number up there. FanDuel's probably got it someplace. Bet the over-under on the anthem. And you're off and roaring. Get that first drink and away we go. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing better than taking it off one of your buddies too in the process. So couldn't agree more. Sage expert advice there. Brent, you mentioned a couple of times, big on the Patriots in this one. Mike Vrabel, someone who's so familiar with the stage as a player. Why has he been able to so quickly turn this back into a team that's capable of winning a trophy like this?
Yeah, there's something that's being overlooked about the turnaround of the Patriots. Now, first of all, the Krafts did a great job at hiring Vrabel because Vrabel knew who to hire as assistant coaches and put it together. However, I'm going to tell you something. They have a lot of money to spend in free agency, and you go back and take a look at the millions that they spent on some of these players, and they didn't make mistakes. They signed key players. Vrabel has someone in that front office, in that Patriots front office, who helped him and got a great eye for some of these veterans, okay? And they should not overlook what free agency, even Stephon Diggs, let's take a look at him, all right? Who thought he could come back and have a 1,000-yard year for them, all right? And then what Vrabel brings to the table, and every young coach should pay attention to this, he knows how to deal with men. There are things that go on. You know, those of us who are not in the locker room and on the outside, oh, this number, that number, oh, analytics, this, nonsense. You've got to deal with men in that locker room. And there are problems, okay, that occur with every team. And Vrabel has proven that he can deal with men, okay? I love the picture of him in Denver after the game, hugging every player who came down that tunnel to the locker room. Now, obviously, they caught a break when Bo Nix was unable to play in that game, but they made the most of it. They went out there and won the game, hiring Vrabel, free agency, and they did good in draft. You know, Campbell, their left tackle, you know, they selected him, and yeah, he's had some trouble with some really good edge rushers, but it looks like he's going to be the real deal over there on the left side. So I think this whole Patriot thing has come together, but you should not overlook how they spent money in free agency. A lot of teams miss. The Patriots didn't, and they put together a winning team.
No question. Been incredible to watch. Flip that roster so much in just a year. And now have a chance to make Brent Musburger a very happy man come Super Bowl Sunday. Brent, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming here and telling some stories with us. Enjoy this week. Enjoy this weekend. Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next, all smiles from Brent Musburger. Not so much for Bryson DeChambeau. We'll take a look at the maybe short-lived future of LIV Golf next. It's Golic and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. Before we visit with some Hasselbacks, let's take a look at the world of golf. We know big shockwaves made. Brooks Koepka competed his first tournament down in La Jolla this past weekend since rejoining the PGA Tour. He was a part of the Pathway program that allowed accomplished players, the really good ones, to come back from LIV Golf after he decided to leave that tour. And we wondered, what would that mean for guys like Jon Rahm and for Bryson DeChambeau, some of the biggest stars that were still over there in LIV? And doesn't sound like Bryson's having all that much fun now. Signed up and took the big paycheck, and now all of a sudden LIV, who has made the move to go to 72 hole tournaments on the weekends, has prompted Bryson to say this: I've got a contract for this year. We'll go through it there, and we'll see what happens after that. Hopefully meaning the change, wears positive me over time, but you never know. I'm not sure. We didn't sign up to play for 72 holes. Obviously, LIV had famously been a 54-hole tournament structure here, more relaxed, was supposed to be the fun, happy Gilmore tournament every weekend. And now as other players have defected, some who aren't part of that program are going to have to wait out their year suspension and coming back. Dad, it certainly sounds like we're watching the dying days of this LIV Tour, who really can only point to Jon Rahm as a guy that seems to be waving the flag for them.
I mean, you know what Bryson DeChambeau is doing. He has got his lawyers pouring over that contract, just like our agent and attorney Lou would be doing, Mike, for ours, pouring over it finding anything in there that says if you change anything in the venue, like 54 to 72 holes, we have an out. We're out. It's going to be real interesting about the writing of that contract, and if he can get out of that contract, I think that's what he's looking for, is an out. But overall, you're right. You're looking for they had the big time players. They're going back to the PGA. LIV is dying a slow death on the vine.
Yeah, Bryson's an interesting case study too, since obviously he's become, the golf YouTuber du jour of the tour, and even said there's a world where he could see himself just doing YouTube content and then using his exemptions for the majors to play in those tournaments and kind of making his money that way. Certainly that's not what he has to worry about anymore. But you wonder if now seeing everyone gravitate back towards the PGA, which credit to them, Dad, obviously new leadership in the tour since this entire saga started, just kind of waited out the storm, said, hey, no one's going to see you over there. You're going to largely disappear. It's not as competitive, and it's not grounded in the history. And I think for this sport, history does matter a ton in the cachet that the tour has, and they just waited them out, used that leverage to ultimately anchor them into position, made it through that era we thought they'd merge, and now seems to be getting ready to come out on the other side victorious.
Yeah, remember that when they thought LIV and the PGA were going to merge? It was kind of like when the Pac-12 and the Big Ten had their arms around each other talking how they were going to work together, and then that fell apart as well.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the best laid plans of mice and men have all gone by the wayside for that. So we'll wait and see what the future looks like there. Coming up next, our future looks like Hasselbeck's joining us here on Golic and Golic next. Welcome back, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. This has always been, in its very nature, a family show, and so anytime we get to share it with other family members who have found a way to work together around each other, always a pretty cool experience. And we've had one guest around here a bunch of times with us now, and excited to have him back, Matt Hasselbeck, NFL analyst, former quarterback, kind enough to join us, alongside his daughter, Annabelle, who, budding media star, you can check her out on Foxborough Rush, seen on Nesson. She's the host of the Seahawks Collective on YouTube. Matt, we're excited to talk to you, but Annabelle, I feel like you must have been in consultation with the NFL scriptwriters to make this matchup happening, considering you have now covered both of these teams in the lead up to this game and get a chance to see it to the end.
I am so happy to be here. This is absolutely incredible. I've been telling people on Radio Row all week that I feel spoiled that these are the two teams, just have the joy that I have. Obviously, grew up a Seattle Seahawks fan, and so that's been awesome. And my grandfather, Don Hasselbeck, played for the New England Patriots. I've been living in Boston, went to BC. So we have the best of both worlds. It is so incredible to be here.
And quickly, in your own right as an athlete, you were at Boston College. You played in 4 lacrosse national championships and won 2 of them. So by that metric, you're more accomplished than all of us on the show right now. So congrats to you there. Before the season started, which would you have been more surprised at, New England making it to the Super Bowl or Seattle making it to the Super Bowl?
Certainly the Patriots. I mean, they won 4 games last season. They've more than doubled that this year. To see what Vrabel has done and come in and really turn this thing around, and the step that Drake May has taken with this team, it is incredible. And I don't think anyone in New England expected it. But I will say this, living in Boston throughout this year, Patriots fans, they're used to this. Like, oh yeah, that little, time that we weren't winning. And they definitely take it for granted. I will say that. It's something really special to be there.
So, Matt, this is becoming crystal clear to me now. We've had you on the show a bunch during this season, and I think I know what's happened. You've been stealing takes from your daughter and passing them off as your own on our show this season, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit, if we're being real. No, it's cool to see Annabelle do this, and following her at Sports Spectrum too, just doing the whole Super Bowl week, seeing her on TV last night on NFL Network, asking questions at opening night and stuff like that. I've really enjoyed it. And I would just want to go back to that national championship loss thing real quick, because when Annabelle lost her first national championship, I was kind of consoling her and her sister, and I was like, "Oh, girls, it's okay, great year." And they were like crying, like, "Dad, you have no idea what it's like to be so close to winning it all and just not winning." And I'm like, well, I kind of do, girls. Kind of do.
Unfortunately, I've had too many of those moments with him. Lacrosse camps when I was growing up. "Dad, my feet are bleeding. You have no idea what it's like to be in cleats all day long." Over the phone, just silence. I'm like, then I go, "I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for saying that."
Yeah, it's true. But no, listen, I've been probably Annabelle's biggest fan just watching her talk about these two teams. Even the Seahawks was a surprise. They were not a playoff team last year. They're a pretty good team, top 10 defense. They had 10 wins, but they did not make the playoffs. New quarterback, get rid of DK Metcalf, new offensive coordinator, a lot of questions, and a young head coach in Mike Macdonald that really hadn't proven anything. Everyone in the building there loved him, but hadn't proven anything. And then on the flip side, New England, they got Vrabel back and they felt like, oh, we're on the back track. We're back on track. But is this quarterback really a franchise quarterback? Like, is he really? Like, Jacoby Brissett started 6 games for us last year. There were still some questions about Drake May. So for both these teams to be here right now, I think both fan bases are just like, we are so happy. We're on cloud 9 with this thing.
So Matt, from the quarterback position, you have a young quarterback in Drake May, a reclamation project in Sam Darnold. Who do you have more confidence in going into this game?
Well, they're both young. I mean, Sam Darnold just turned 28 years old. I mean, Sam's got the experience. There's no doubt about that. He's got more experience. He's got more scabs. He's had more, he's gone through some tough times, so to speak, in his NFL career. And, so you could say, oh, the more experience. But I'll also say, like, it's kind of great when you don't know what you don't know as a young player. I mean, Tom Brady in his first Super Bowl, I remember that 2-minute drive before Adam Vinatieri hit the game winner. He was out there like, commentators were like, well, maybe they should just play it safe, play for overtime. And he was like, hey, whatever, 2-minute, cut it loose, man, cut it loose. And there's something dangerous about that. And I think Drake May has that quality where he might feel like, hey, we're in the Super Bowl. How cool is this, man? Let's go. Like, this is fun. Instead of feeling that pressure and the weight of the world of like, man, we got to win it all or else. And I think that's unique. I think that's unique in this situation.
So with that in mind, Matt mentioned, Annabelle, you were at the opening night last night, the media event, all the players down there. What sense did you get for the demeanor that these two teams were carrying into this game with that in mind?
Yeah, they're the same that they have been the entire season. Yes, there's a lot of joy coming from them and maybe some dance moves from guys like Devin Witherspoon. But JSN, he had his glasses on. He was chill like he always is. And they're locked in. And I think back to what my dad was saying, you can't make the moment too big, right? It's the same 100 yards that you're going to have at the VMAC or on Lumen Field or at Gillette Stadium. And that's what this team has really bought into. And even though Mike Macdonald hasn't been here before, his team is acting like it. And Vrabel's been there before, and his team is acting like it.
So, Annabelle, you have a dad and an uncle who are quarterbacks, yet this Seattle team, we keep talking about the quarterbacks for both teams, the Seattle team led by their defense. Talk about that side of the ball, what Mike Macdonald has brought.
It's incredible. Throughout the entire time that Mike Macdonald has been in Seattle, his players have called him a defensive mastermind and how he makes their job just easier on the field, giving them extra coaching points and what they should be looking for. And I think the thing that stuck out to me is that he calls their practice squad really the ready squad because they hold their players, regardless of whether you're a starter on the practice squad, to the same standard. And you've seen it when guys go down. Julian Love, he barely played in the whole beginning of the season. Devin Witherspoon was out. Reek Woolen was out. A lot of guys on this defense have had to step up and make big plays like Ty Okada, Drake Thomas. It has been incredible. So I think what Mike Macdonald has set with the standard and the culture and that ready squad mentality has helped the Seahawks sustain so much success through injuries that have come their way.
Matt, when we look at this game on the offensive side for Seattle, you talked about Sam, but I want to focus on Clint Kubiak, who is expected to become the next head coach of the Raiders after this game, certainly balancing all those things leading up to this game. But how much pressure does that put on the Seahawks, knowing they're going to lose him and knowing how important he's been to this revival in Seattle?
Yeah, it's a really unique situation. And I've had it where my quarterback coach had taken another job already and we're still in the playoff situation and it's unique. But I do think it can be a rallying cry. It can kind of be like, hey guys, this team right here, this collection of 70 will never be together again. Clint Kubiak, he will never be our offensive coordinator and play caller again. Like, this is the group. Let's go out together. We've had an incredible journey, an incredible run. It takes all of us. And kind of like what AB was saying, like that mindset of, making sure everybody's prepared. Go back to the NFC Championship game. The turning point of that game was the play on special teams with Derek Young picking up that punt, muff punt. And then the very next play, Jake Bobo, who comes in primarily in 12 personnel blocking situations. He comes in as the number 2 read with an incredible corner post for a touchdown. And I do think that's one of the great things about this team. Yes, John Schneider's done a great job of kind of bringing in the talent, but the coaching staff has developed this talent as the season's gone on. And, with Rashid Shaheed coming in with the trade, it's been a nice little new weapon, so to speak, for Clint Kubiak. But I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Clint Kubiak lean more on the tight ends in this game. Certainly, he's got a great tight end where he's headed next with Las Vegas. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw just a little bit of that show up here in this Super Bowl.
So I want to ask both of you. Annabelle, I'll start with you. We just talked about Clint Kubiak. The constant in so many Super Bowls for New England has been Josh McDaniels, who I don't think gets talked about enough. Did fail as a head coach, has been unbelievable as an offensive coordinator, but we know over time, do we forget that he failed as a head coach? Annabelle, start with you. Do you think Josh McDaniels gets another shot to be a head coach down the road?
I think certainly the success that he's had with New England this season, with Vrabel coming in. I mean, that opening night yesterday, I was looking over and there are all the risers where the players are, but then in the back corner of the arena, you could see this massive swarm of people, and we're like trying to figure out who it is. And it's like, oh, well, that would be McDaniels. That would make a lot of sense. So yes, I think what stuck out to me with how he has led Drake May and his ability to bring up this young quarterback is he's not forcing him to throw it to Steph Diggs, right? That was the big name coming into training camp, coming into the season. And Drake May has had this freedom to just hit the open guy. And that's how you see guys like Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, Kayshon Boutte really stepping up, Mac Hollins stepping up for this team throughout the season, is that he doesn't feel that pressure to force it to one guy. McDaniels has really allowed Drake to just hit the right guy at the right moment.
Matt, what do you think?
I don't know if I got anything to add to that, guys. I mean, AB, well done. Here's what I would say, though. Here's what I would say about this game, in particular with Josh McDaniels. Trick plays. You have them on your call sheet all season long. And, you can't take them into the offseason with you. It does no good. Josh McDaniels has proven when he needs to come up with offense. Maybe he's a little bit overmatched with the team that may be more talented, the number 1 defense in the league. Don't be surprised if Josh McDaniels, he's got the confidence and the cachet. For me as a quarterback, when I would go up against defensive coordinators that were like not afraid to call whatever, we'd call them retirement blitzes, meaning this guy's done so much in his career. He's got the confidence to just like, yeah, I'm going to risk it all and do this. I think Josh McDaniels, in that sense, he's got the resume and the courage, and he's proven it, to call those trick plays in a Super Bowl. We've seen it in my Super Bowl. Antoine Randall threw it to Hines Ward. You've seen the Philly special. You can't take him with you. We know Josh likes the trick plays. We know Julian Edelman could throw the ball. Let's see who now for New England was a high school quarterback or whatever. That's something that I'm looking for in this game.
No better part of preparing for a game and getting ready to call one than looking down, like you said, going and seeing who's got it in the arsenal to go and turn one loose later on. It's going to be fascinating. What I'm fascinated by, Annabelle, is, are you going to make a pick this week for the game? Like, can you do this considering all of your employment in this? Like, what's the approach to that?
Listen, I'm here with Sports Spectrum for the Super Bowl week. So we're asking all players questions about their sports and faith experience. But I think for me, there are a lot of guys on this Patriots team who I love and respect as players, as people. Drake May, Hunter Henry, Travion Henderson. But man, I'm a Seahawks girl. I was born and raised in Seattle. This is a dream come true to watch my dad go through this Radio Row experience, talk about the Seahawks this season, and get to go to the Super Bowl with this team. Covering them has been an absolute dream just growing up, following his career. And so, yeah, I'm cheering for the Seahawks in this game, but much respect to Vrabel and what he's done with that Patriots team.
Matt, who are you going with?
Well, I'm definitely going with the Seahawks. It's my old team against my dad's old team. If Annabelle didn't say that, though, I was going to remind her that she was a junior Seagal once upon a time. And so, and your first job out of college is actually with the Seahawks. So there we go. But no, it's sports are kind of ruined for me at times because I'm rooting, I've got friends on both sides. And, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the job that Mike Vrabel has done. I think the whole league can respect what he's done. Like I told you guys many times, like I've been the biggest fan of Drake May. I think he's just scratching the surface of what he's going to be as a quarterback. But no, I think we know where I'm at.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's going to be an exciting week for both of you guys in that regard. We're looking forward to it. Again, check out the great work Annabelle is doing with Sports Spectrum again this year at the Super Bowl, getting a chance to go out there and cover it for them. Guys, this is a ton of fun. We appreciate you both for coming by. Enjoy this week. Hopefully we'll see you later on in San Francisco.
Yeah, and I'm jealous. You guys get to do this every day with each other. AB, this is nice. I think this is the first time we've ever done this together. So thanks for having us on. You guys are on to something. Great stuff.
There you go. Let's see the future.
First,
you two
but maybe
together.
not the last.
Yeah. Thanks,
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
Wow,
there
that's
we go.
awesome.
So, that is pretty cool here. I feel like Matt's just biding his time to bring out the junior Seahawk girl's picture at some point to embarrass her.
Oh,
this week.
yeah.
That would be peak dad behavior.
To embarrass her. Absolutely. Yeah. I've got pictures stored up of you. So believe me, that's going to happen.
Well, like I said, you don't have pictures stored up of me. Mom has pictures stored up of me, and you would need to go through her for clearance and to be able to find them because you have no idea where they are.
Well, as a married couple, we're an extension of one another. She just happens to be a little more of an extension for me than I am for her.
Yeah, no, she's the extension that functions properly and makes everything happen. So that's an important extension of that marriage there. Cool stuff. Thank you to Matt and Annabelle for stopping by here. While we're talking about the great defenses in this game, certainly one defender that was always going to be a focal point in this game is DeMarcus Lawrence, who was an important part of this team that got brought over from the Dallas Cowboys and made some waves on the way out, remember, the comments that he had about the Dallas Cowboys and then relative to this that now have aged incredibly well for him. He also had some comments at the podium last night about the NFL's move to an 18-game schedule, which so many people have positioned as inevitable. Here was the veteran pass rusher DeMarcus Lawrence talking about what would need to happen if the league were to go to 18 regular season games.
I mean, I can, sit up here and hoop, holler all I want to. Like, if that's what they want, trust me, that's what they're going to get.
Would you guys need to be paid more to play that?
Oh, most definitely. We definitely, this coming from DeMarcus Lawrence, if we play an 18th game, all players need to be compensated properly for that 18th game. We can't be putting our bodies on the line just for the satisfaction of the fans, for the NFL, or for whoever it is. Thank you.
So making it abundantly clear, but I do think that mentality is something you've echoed here for a while, right? It's hard to avoid feeling like this is an eventual outcome. Even if Roger Goodell, when he was at the podium yesterday, said it's not necessarily a done deal, what should they be going after? What is he right about in that? We heard Brent Musburger talk about some of the other things before. Like, what would you be pushing for?
I mean, listen, by extension, the league's going to make more money, so the players are going to make more money. They're already talking about the cap going up significantly yet again for the money they're making. And remember, I believe it's a 50-50 split. So if the money goes up, the money to the players goes up as well. The cap goes up. That's more money available to the players. Now, it's how the team obviously wants to allocate that money. But what he said in the beginning there, I've been saying forever, if the league wants to do it, they're going to do it. Right? So you need to get what you can get. And I still think one of the things to get, and players when they're playing, especially younger players, I don't think about the aftermath as much. And right now, when you're done playing, you get 5 years of health insurance. Man, get that extended. I know that was talk of giving it to the rest of your life, but that's not going to happen. But get it extended 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Unfortunately, active players don't think about post-playing career. There's a number of things you can try and get, but being a post-career guy, that's one of the things I look back on and say, boy, if hindsight is 2020, I would express that to active players to get that insurance to last as one thing. You're talking about adding a game, adding more wear and tear in your body. You should be able to negotiate some good things for that.
To that end, the NFLPA interim executive director David White actually spoke today about this and kind of referenced what you just brought up. He said, our members have no appetite for an 18th game in the regular season. You heard that last year when the executive committee was up here and they were talking about what happens to their bodies when they're with their families, when they're with their kids. They were very open and candid about that. It's punishing, and we can see that on the teams that have deep postseason runs. And so I do wonder, to your point, Dad, about how cognizant current players are about their futures. We've seen that kind of change with the head injury things in recent years, where we've had some guys retire earlier. We've had guys approach that differently, especially with the life-changing sums of money that a lot of these guys can make early in their career. And so maybe we are getting to a point where more guys will be willing to entertain that, where more guys will listen to the game from veterans and guys that have been around like you, who are saying, hey, you want to look out for that, because certainly Brent mentioned it, like 2 bye weeks should be a part of that conversation.
Yes.
Expanding the rosters or practice squads, certainly expanding the active game day rosters and not trimming that down as much as they used to in the past. It would be more money going out to more players, which doesn't necessarily mean each guy's seeing that bump. But I think those are all going to be things that have to be part of the conversation. And if you're the NFL, you should want there, considering your product suffers when the best players are off the field. And you just saw that list of guys that were on the shelf by the end of the season, some of them the star quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, that are over time going to make your product more watered down if you're not careful.
Two things that should happen automatically without negotiation, but everything's a negotiation but one thing that should without question not be a negotiation is 2 bye weeks. You should absolutely go to 2 bye weeks. You should absolutely have more than 46 players active out of 53-man roster. You should maybe activate all 53 or more players for each week that are on the sideline that can go in. Let alone the health insurance after. Again, there are things to pluck and pick. Some shouldn't be negotiated. Some should come with an 18th game, but we know a lot of times that's not how it works.
Yeah, no. How it works is more is better and money is green, and the decisions usually get made off of that. So we'll see if this is another in a long line of those. Coming up next, though, we're talking about toughness. We're getting ready to see one of the ultimate displays of that from Lindsey Vonn coming up in this next Olympic Games. Don't want to miss this next on Golic Golic. As we wrap here on Golic Golic, Mike Golic Jr. and Sr., my dad's self-professed Olympic freak has to be excited for the Winter Olympics getting ready to start up in Milan this weekend. And one of the people a lot of folks were excited to see is Lindsey Vonn, who I say this complimentary sounds like an absolute psycho in the best way. This is sports grit at the highest order. So 4 days ago, Lindsey Vonn crashed at the downhill in Crans-Montana, Switzerland, and ended up in the safety nets. He skied to the bottom of the mountain and went to the hospital after, where she found out that she had, quote, completely ruptured the ACL in her left knee, had bone bruising plus meniscal damage. And yet after 3 days of physical therapy, says that she is confident that she can still compete on Sunday as she head to the Olympics. Remember, Vonn was making a comeback after last season, now 41 years old. She had been away from skiing for 6 years, and then was also competing with a partial titanium implant in her right knee. Dad, defying the odds is underselling this to the highest order. You played in the NFL for 9 years. I'm sure played through a litany of gnarly stuff. Have you ever heard of anyone trying to do something like this?
This is unbelievable. And you're right. I'm an Olympic freak, and I love summer and winter Olympics. And one of my favorite events of both is the downhill, because these men and women are nuts. They are nuts how they hurl themselves down the side of a freaking mountain in the speed they're going to and the angles they're changing. Now, an ACL, a torn ACL, really obviously affects stability of a knee. It's interesting. I've known guys that blew out their ACLs and will kind of walk with a slight limp off the field straight ahead. But once if they try and go side to side, the instability really shows up. There's no stability there. And she said her knee is not swollen, so they got the swelling out of it. And with the help of a knee brace, I'm confident that I can compete on Sunday. What a lunatic. I mean, and again, I mean it in the absolute nicest way. I mean, this is one of those things where she comes out of retirement. We know Olympics are once every 4 years, so you do what you damn well have to do to get out there and compete. I have no idea no idea how she's going to do this. I really don't. But she's going to do it. I don't know if if tight knee brace, swelling down really helps. I don't know if you're going to stick a needle in it as well. I have no idea. But just the fact that she ruptured her ACL not long ago and is going to hurl herself down the side of a mountain is unbelievable.
She's on the right timeline for doing well in this. Despite that, Vonn's won 3 Olympic medals, gold in the downhill and bronze in the Super G in 2010, and then bronze in the downhill in 2018. She's been the top downhiller on the circuit for this season, despite everything that we just mentioned in the lead up to this injury. So I don't know if she'll be able to successfully do it, Dad. Obviously, everything we described sounds insane. And so, but the fact she's willing to go try is like a reminder. And this is crazy for after 6 years away from skiing, because usually when you get done with it, you kind of black back in and realize, how did I do these things to my body for so long? But when you're in that moment, you're an athlete, you're looking for solutions to problems. Your body's the machinery that makes it go. And she's seen a problem and she says, I think I have a solution because I will not be deterred from the goal. And I got nothing but respect for that.
I mean, once she goes out of that gate, man, she's going downhill. I mean, there ain't no turning back. Now, obviously, she could ski off to the side if it's hurting too much, but it really is. She's done. She's going. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, good luck to her. I hope she pulls it off. But boy, oh boy, what a complete nutcase, and I mean it in a positive way.
We're all big Lindsey Vonn fans going into this. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Golic Golic. Thanks for watching. For more Golic Golic clips, make sure you subscribe to the FanDuel Sports Network YouTube channel.